In a world that rewards perfection, how would you react if I told you that your imperfections are your greatest strength? Did you know that ancient warriors had a secret not only to face external battles, but also internal ones? They did not fight alone, they were armed with principles that transformed their internal struggles into sources of power. This is not only a revolutionary thought, but a timeless truth that the Stoics deeply understood. Get ready to challenge everything you know about personal success and self-acceptance. In the constant pursuit of well-being and happiness, we often find ourselves caught in an internal battle, fighting against our own judgments and expectations. In this fast-paced world, full of constant challenges and demands, being tough on ourselves has become second nature. But what if I told you that there is another way to live? A way that frees us from the chains of self-judgment and teaches us to be kind to ourselves, even in the midst of adversity. Today, we'll embark on a journey inspired by ancient Stoic philosophy, exploring 21 Stoic principles for being kinder to yourself. The Stoics, masters of resilience and inner peace, left us a legacy of wisdom that transcends time and culture. Through his teachings, we learn not only to face the vicissitudes of life with strength, but also to cultivate a compassionate and loving relationship with our innermost self. These principles are revealed as powerful tools to transform our self-perception and, with it, our entire life. This journey is about deeply transforming how we live, how we relate to ourselves and the world around us. By integrating these Stoic principles into our daily lives, we will not only improve our relationship with ourselves, but we will also cultivate a more peaceful and balanced presence that will positively impact everyone around us. So I invite you to join me on this transformative exploration. Prepare to open your mind and heart to ancient wisdom that has the power to change not only how you see yourself, but how you experience every aspect of your life. Together, we will learn to be kinder to ourselves, not through an unattainable ideal of perfection, but through the self-acceptance, understanding, and love that the Stoics considered essential to a good and virtuous life. If this is your first time on the channel, I encourage you to subscribe, click on the bell and like the video. Your support is essential to continue growing and creating quality content like this. Let's get started. Principle number 1. Embrace imperfection. On our journey through life, we navigate the sea of existence aboard ships that, although resistant, are not exempt from suffering damage and wear. This journey, with its storms and calms, is a perfect metaphor for our personal path toward self-knowledge and self-compassion. The first Stoic principle we will explore invites us to embrace imperfection, a premise that, at first glance, might seem counterintuitive to us in a society that idolizes perfection. What does it mean, then, to embrace imperfection in the context of our own lives? Let's imagine for a moment that our imperfections are like the scars of a warrior, each one telling the story of a battle fought, whether overcome or not. These marks are not signs of failure, but testimonies of our resilience and humanity. The analogy here extends to the very heart of our existence. Just as a warrior respects and values his scars, we too must learn to value our imperfections as integral parts of our being. This Stoic principle challenges us to look beyond our superficial flaws and deepen our understanding of what it truly means to be human. Isn't the tree that, despite the storms, still standing, crooked but strong, more admirable than the one that has never been buffeted by the wind? This rhetorical question invites us to reflect on the beauty inherent in survival and adaptation, on how our struggles and challenges shape and strengthen us. Embracing imperfection does not mean surrendering to mediocrity or abandoning the desire for improvement. Rather, it is a recognition of our human condition, an acceptance that growth and learning are continuous processes. Like the artisan who, with patience and dedication, works his materials, knowing that each piece will bear the marks of his effort, we must learn to be kind to ourselves in this process of self-improvement. This principle teaches us, then, that true wisdom and beauty lie in our ability to accept our failures and work with them, not in spite of them. In this act of acceptance, we find the freedom to be authentically ourselves, freeing ourselves from the chains of unrealistic expectations and allowing ourselves to live more fully and serenely. This principle is an invitation to live more authentically and compassionately, recognizing that our imperfections are not only inevitable, but are essential to our growth and humanity. It is here, in the acceptance of our imperfect existence, where we find the key to a kinder and more harmonious life with ourselves. Principle number 2. Learn from failure. On the path to self-acceptance and self-kindness, Stoicism teaches us an invaluable lesson: failure is not an insurmountable obstacle, but a rigorous teacher whose lessons are fundamental to our personal growth. Seneca, one of the most famous Stoics, reminds us that there is no favorable wind for him who does not know where he is going. This quote encapsulates the essence of learning from failure. It is not adversity itself that is to be feared, but rather the inability to draw wisdom from these experiences. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, whose countless failures on the path to inventing the light bulb did not weaken his determination, but rather strengthened his resolve. Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I have found 10,000 ways that don't work." In this spirit, the principle of learning from failure invites us to re-evaluate our relationship with error and defeat, seeing them not as endings but as starting points for introspection and learning. Through this principle, we are guided to reflect on our own lives. How many times have we allowed the fear of failure to paralyze our actions or divert us from our goals? How many times have we seen failure as a reflection of our personal worth, rather than as an opportunity to learn and advance? Stoicism teaches us to demystify failure, to see it as an essential part of the human process of exploration and discovery. It encourages us to ask ourselves, what lessons can I draw from this experience? How can I use this knowledge to improve in the future? This approach not only helps us be kinder to ourselves in the face of failure, but also empowers us to take calculated risks and pursue our passions with renewed vigor. By learning from failure, we adopt a growth mindset that allows us to face challenges with confidence and curiosity. We become more resilient, more flexible, and ultimately more capable of achieving our goals and living a fuller, more meaningful life. This principle, therefore, is not just about facing failure, but embracing it as a fundamental aspect of our humanity and a catalyst for personal change. In short, learning from failure is learning to live. It is recognizing that every stumble, every fall, carries with it the seed of deeper understanding and richer wisdom. By embracing this principle, we open the doors to a life of continuous learning, self-compassion, and endless growth. Principle number 3. Find value in adversity. In life, as in nature, the harshest conditions often make for the most impressive and resilient landscapes. Let us think of the majestic pine that grows in the inhospitable heights of a mountain. Its existence is a testament to life's ability to not only survive but also thrive in the midst of hardship. This image serves as a powerful allegory for our third Stoic principle, finding courage in adversity. History is replete with figures who have embodied this principle, transforming the most daunting challenges into platforms for achievement and enlightenment. Consider Nelson Mandela, whose long stay in prison became a symbol not of defeat, but one of resistance, learning and, ultimately, triumph in the fight against oppression. Mandela himself reflected this principle when he said, "Don't judge me by my successes, judge me by how many times I fell and got up again." This ability to find courage in adversity is what allows us to transform trials into triumphs. When facing challenges, we should not ask ourselves, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What can I learn from this?" It is an invitation to look beyond the immediate pain and frustration, to see adversity as fertile ground for personal growth. The contrast between adversity and the value we can extract from it is fundamental. While adversity may seem like an insurmountable barrier, the Stoic approach teaches us that within every challenge lies the opportunity to strengthen our character, clarify our values, and deepen our understanding of life. By adopting this perspective, we begin to see adversity not as an enemy, but as an ally on our path to wisdom and resilience. This principle does not minimize the reality of suffering, but rather empowers us to confront it constructively. It reminds us that although we cannot choose our circumstances, we can choose how we respond to them. In this choice lies our freedom and our strength. Finding courage in adversity is recognizing that life's most challenging experiences can be the most enriching. It is an invitation to embrace the complexity of our existence, finding beauty and purpose even in the darkest moments. This principle guides us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us, opening the way to a life of greater fulfillment and meaning. Principle number 4. Accept change as a constant. Life, in its purest essence, is a river of constant flow, where each curve reveals new landscapes and each whirlpool tests our ability to navigate turbulent waters. To accept change as constant is to embrace the very nature of our existence, recognizing that, like the river that never stops, we too are in a state of perpetual evolution. This principle invites us to contemplate the reality of change not as a threat, but as the very essence of life, offering us the opportunity to grow, learn, and transform. As we immerse ourselves in the current of change, we begin to understand that resistance to the natural flow of life only leads to frustration and suffering. It is in acceptance where we find our true freedom, allowing ourselves to flow with the changes rather than against them. This acceptance leads us to a deeper understanding that change is the only true constant, and that our ability to adapt to it determines the quality of our life experience. Stoic wisdom teaches us that change is not only inevitable but essential for our personal development. By facing change with equanimity, we learn to value each present moment without clinging too much to what was or worrying excessively about what will be. This practice of living fully in the now, with unconditional acceptance of the flow of life, equips us to face challenges with grace and find peace even in the midst of uncertainty. On this journey through the river of life, each experience of change becomes a valuable lesson, teaching us about our own strength, resilience, and the impermanence of all things. By embracing change as a constant, we open ourselves to new possibilities, allowing life to shape and enrich us in ways we could never have imagined. Thus, accepting change becomes an act of courage and wisdom, a conscious commitment to move forward with confidence, no matter what the future holds. It reminds us to be present, appreciate the beauty of transformation, and celebrate the opportunity to be part of this wonderful, constant flow of life. Accepting change as a constant is ultimately embracing our own evolution, allowing ourselves to live with a sense of purpose, peace, and wholeness only found by flowing harmoniously with the eternal river of change. Principle number 5. Foster patience with yourself. Patience with oneself is the fertile soil in which deep understanding and self-compassion can flourish. On this journey through life, we often find ourselves navigating turbulent waters, facing challenges that test our resilience and our ability to stay true to our principles. Fostering patience with yourself is recognizing that personal growth is a process, not a destination. It is understanding that every step, every detour, every setback, has the potential to teach us something valuable about who we are and where we want to go. Reflect for a moment on the great figures of history who, through their perseverance in times of adversity, have left an indelible mark on the fabric of our culture and society. Consider, for example, the determination of Marie Curie, who, despite the numerous obstacles she faced as a woman in the field of science, never stopped pursuing her passion for knowledge, becoming the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. And the only person to obtain it in 2 different sciences. His story is a testament to the power of patience and perseverance. How many times have you become frustrated with yourself for not quickly reaching your goals or for making mistakes that seemed avoidable? Rhetorical questions like this invite us to consider our own harshness toward ourselves and recognize the importance of being patient in our process of learning and growth. Fostering patience with yourself is giving yourself permission to be a lifelong learner, accepting that the path to wisdom and personal fulfillment is filled with lessons that can only be learned through experience, error, and, above all, failure. Time. This principle teaches us to embrace every moment of our lives as an opportunity to cultivate patience, tolerance, and understanding of ourselves. It encourages us to see each challenge not as a verdict of our abilities, but as another step on the ladder of our personal development. By fostering patience with yourself, you open the door to a kinder, more compassionate journey of self-discovery, where patience becomes your most faithful companion, gently guiding you through life's inevitable ups and downs. Ultimately, fostering patience with yourself is an act of self-love. It's a reminder that you deserve the same care, understanding, and time you're willing to give to others. By embracing this principle, you not only allow yourself to grow and evolve at your own pace, but you also cultivate a deeper, loving relationship with yourself, one that is rooted in acceptance and respect for your own unique life journey. Principle number 6. Develop inner compassion. The path to developing inner compassion is, paradoxically, as much a journey into oneself as it is into the vast outside world. Like a seed that requires darkness to germinate before seeking light, self-compassion springs from the depths of our own vulnerability, growing toward a broader understanding and connection to others. This principle is an invitation to delve into the shadows of our being, places where we often avoid looking, to discover there the light of our own compassion and understanding. Let us imagine for a moment that our inner being is like a wild garden, filled with a diversity of plants, some robust and others delicate, all valuable in their uniqueness. Developing inner compassion is the act of gently tending this garden, understanding that each plant has its rhythm and needs, and that the garden as a whole is more beautiful for its diversity. This act of caring requires a patience and acceptance that can only be cultivated when we begin to see our own imperfections and struggles not as failures, but as essential parts of our shared humanity. The paradox of inner compassion lies in the fact that by offering love and acceptance to ourselves, in our darkest hours and moments of doubt, we expand our capacity to be compassionate to others. It is a reminder that self-kindness is not an act of indulgence, but a foundation for broader kindness and love that transcends the limits of the self. Thus, by nurturing our inner garden with compassion, we take a step toward creating a world where empathy and understanding flourish. The contrast between self-criticism and self-compassion illuminates a fundamental truth. While the former chains us to a cycle of doubt and discontent, the latter liberates us, allowing us to embrace our wholeness with all its imperfections. This liberation is not a final destination, but a continuous process, a path that we travel every day with the intention of being kinder and more understanding with ourselves. At its core, developing inner compassion is recognizing our own humanity and that of others as a connected fabric, rich in its complexity and beautiful in its imperfection. It is learning to be the gardener of our own being, caring for every part of ourselves with the same dedication and love that we would offer to another. This principle guides us toward a life of greater authenticity and connection, where compassion is the key that opens the doors to a fuller and more meaningful existence. Principle number 7. Practice voluntary moderation. Imagine that your life is a feast in which you are presented with an abundance of delicious and tempting dishes. Voluntary moderation is the wisdom of carefully selecting what you put on your plate, not out of deprivation, but out of the desire to enjoy each bite in a conscious and balanced way. This principle is like the master of ceremonies who guides you through this feast, reminding you that the quality of your experience depends on your ability to savor each element without falling into gluttony or excess. Historically, great figures such as Socrates and Benjamin Franklin have embraced moderation as a fundamental virtue. Franklin, for example, conducted a personal experiment to cultivate his self-discipline and moderation, carefully recording his daily habits in a log. His commitment to voluntary moderation led him to achieve a high level of success and self-control. Voluntary moderation is not about denying yourself all pleasure, but about making conscious decisions about what truly enriches your life and what can be detrimental. It leads us to reflect on the difference between desire and need, and to recognize that deep satisfaction does not come from unbridled accumulation, but from the appreciation of what we have. A concrete example of the practice of voluntary moderation is the Japanese philosophy of wabi-sabi, which celebrates the beauty of the imperfect and the ephemeral. Instead of pursuing perfection and excess, wabi-sabi embraces beauty in the simple, the modest, and the transitory. This philosophy reminds us that by reducing our demands and desires, we can find a greater appreciation for the beauty found in the simplest things in life. Voluntary moderation also applies to our social and emotional interactions. Often, we seek to fill our lives with excessive commitments and relationships, exhausting ourselves in the process. By practicing moderation in our relationships, we learn to value quality over quantity, allowing us to invest time and energy in authentic and meaningful connections. Voluntary moderation guides us toward a life of balance and contentment, where we learn to fully enjoy what we have without falling into the trap of instant gratification or excess. It is a reminder that by selecting wisely and appreciating what we have, we find greater joy and meaning in every aspect of our lives. Principle number 8. Recognize the fundamental equality of all. Imagine a vast ocean in which each human being is like a unique drop of water. At first glance, the droplets may appear different in size, shape, and color, but they all share a common essence: they are part of the same ocean. To recognize the fundamental equality of all is to immerse ourselves in this ocean of humanity, appreciating the diversity of the drops while understanding that, deep down, we are all connected by our shared humanity. This principle invites us to look beyond superficial differences, such as race, gender, religion, or nationality, and recognize that ultimately we all share the same need for love, understanding, and belonging. In doing so, we begin to build bridges instead of barriers, foster empathy instead of discrimination, and embrace the idea that every human being deserves equal respect and dignity. Reflect for a moment on the story of Mahatma Gandhi, a leader who deeply embraced this principle. Their peaceful fight for Indian independence and civil rights was based on the belief that all human beings, regardless of their origin, deserve equality and justice. Gandhi reminded us that the path to positive change begins with the recognition of our fundamental equality. The metaphor of the ocean invites us to see humanity from a broader and more compassionate perspective. Every drop, no matter how small or large, contributes to the entire ocean, and every individual, no matter how humble or influential, contributes to the wealth of our global society. This metaphor reminds us that our individual actions have an impact on the world as a whole and that our differences enrich the human experience. This principle also challenges us to question our own biases and assumptions, to examine how we can contribute to equality and inclusion in our daily lives. It drives us to be agents of change, to raise our voices against discrimination and to work together to build a more just and equitable world. Recognizing the fundamental equality of all is a reminder that, amid our differences, we share a common humanity. It is a call to empathy and compassion, to see in each face a fellow traveler in this great adventure called life. By embracing this principle, we help create a world where every drop, every person, is valued and respected for its uniqueness and its connection to the vast ocean of humanity. Principle number 9. Cultivate emotional equanimity. On the journey toward a fuller, more serene life, the principle of cultivating emotional equanimity stands as a beacon of light, guiding us toward inner calm in the midst of the outer storm. Imagine, if you can, that your mind is a vast ocean, in which the waves of your emotions rise and fall driven by the winds of destiny. Like a seasoned sailor unfazed by the fury of the storm, you learn to navigate these waters with a serenity that comes from deep roots within. This metaphor encapsulates the essence of emotional equanimity, meeting life's fluctuations with an unbreakable spirit. Let us now dive into Marcus's story, a narrative that embodies the powerful transformation possible through equanimity. Marcus was someone whose life, at first glance, seemed like a series of failures and disappointments. An unexpected layoff left him navigating the turbulent waters of economic uncertainty, while personal challenges tested his emotional strength every day. However, it was in this period of intense storm that Marcus discovered Stoic philosophy and, with it, the principle of emotional equanimity. He began to practice detached observation of his emotions, seeing them as waves that came and went, but did not have the power to destabilize the deep calm of his essential being. Through meditation, reflection, and gratitude journaling, Marcus learned to embrace each experience with radical acceptance, finding in every challenge an opportunity for personal growth. This shift in perspective not only allowed him to navigate his situation with renewed ease, but also transformed his relationship with the world and with himself. Marcus's story invites us to reflect on our own reaction to the storms of life. Do we allow ourselves to be carried away by the currents of our emotions, or can we find, like Marcus, a center of immovable calm? The practice of emotional equanimity does not suggest a denial of our emotions, but rather a conscious embrace of them, allowing us to experience them fully without losing our internal balance. This path to emotional equanimity, marked by acceptance, understanding and loving detachment, teaches us to be kind to ourselves. It reminds us that although we cannot control the waves of destiny, we do have the power to adjust our sails, choosing how we respond to the storms that life throws our way. Cultivating this equanimity is ultimately an act of deep compassion toward ourselves and others, a gift of inner peace that resonates beyond our own lives to the world around us. Principle number 10. Find beauty in the simple. In a world where noise and complexity often overwhelm us, the principle of finding beauty in the simple invites us to slow down and appreciate the elegance inherent in simplicity. Imagine for a moment a drop of dew in the early morning, how it catches the light of the rising sun and reflects an entire world in its small sphere. This analogy reminds us that beauty does not reside in magnificence or excess, but in the purity and simplicity of moments and things. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, said Leonardo da Vinci, a quote that resonates deeply with this principle. By seeking beauty in the simple, we not only cultivate an appreciation for the essential, but we also free ourselves from the constant search for more, which often leads to dissatisfaction and disconnection. But how do we begin to see the world through this lens of simplicity? First, ask yourself, what simple moments have I overlooked today in pursuit of something great? How can I redirect my attention to the beauty that already exists in my daily life? The answer is often found in the conscious practice of observation and gratitude. As we stop to watch the leaves dance in the wind or appreciate the warmth of a genuine smile, we begin to reconnect with the essence of life. This principle challenges us to clear our lives of the mental and physical clutter that prevents us from seeing beauty in simplicity. It is a call to value less the material and more the experiences, relationships, and moments of peace and joy that truly enrich our existence. In doing so, we not only find beauty in the simple, we also discover a deeper and more lasting source of serenity and happiness. Beauty in the simple also teaches us about impermanence and the value of the ephemeral. In contemplating a sunset or the aroma of rain on dry land, there is a recognition that the deepest beauty often resides in those passing moments that, although brief, are intensely lived. In the end, finding beauty in the simple is a Stoic practice of acceptance and appreciation. It encourages us to let go of expectations and open our hearts to the wonders around us, many of which require nothing more than our attentive presence to be revealed. This principle is a reminder that, in the act of simplifying our lives and our perception, we can discover a richness and beauty that has always been there, waiting to be recognized and celebrated. In this quest, simplicity becomes not only a Stoic principle, but a door to a fuller and more meaningful life. Principle number 11. Learn to forgive yourself. The journey toward self-compassion and self-acceptance often navigates the turbulent waters of forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness. Here lies an intriguing paradox. Only by accepting our imperfections can we achieve a form of inner perfection, not in the sense of the immaculate absence of error, but in the fullness and authenticity of being truly human. Take, for example, the historical figure of Seneca, a Stoic who not only preached virtue and wisdom, but also struggled with his own contradictions and failures. Through his writings, Seneca teaches us that self-forgiveness is not an act of indulgence, but rather a courageous recognition of our faults and a willingness to learn from them. This lesson is reflected in his famous quote, "We are not perfect creatures, but we can be endlessly learning creatures." The narration of a real case offers us a contemporary perspective on this principle. Consider the story of Elena, an entrepreneur whose first business failed miserably. Trapped in a spiral of self-criticism and shame, Elena found the path to recovery and personal growth in Stoicism and the practice of self-forgiveness. By learning to forgive herself for her past mistakes, Elena was able to free herself from the weight of regret and open herself to new opportunities with courage and clarity. This principle invites us to reflect on our own lives. How many times have we punished ourselves for past mistakes, reliving them over and over, instead of seeing them as stepping stones to greater wisdom? The act of forgiving ourselves, far from being a sign of weakness, is a powerful affirmation of our humanity and our ability to grow beyond our limitations. Forgiving yourself also means recognizing that, although we cannot change the past, we have the power to influence our future. It is a commitment to self-improvement that frees us to live more fully in the present, without being chained to the shadows of what once was. Through self-forgiveness, we learn to treat our faults with the same compassion and understanding that we would offer a dear friend. We realize that error is an intrinsic part of the learning and growth process, and that each false step brings us closer to the person we want to be. Learning to forgive ourselves is to embrace our full humanity, with all its imperfections and beauties. It is an essential step toward developing a kinder, more compassionate relationship with ourselves, which in turn allows us to extend that same kindness and compassion toward others. This Stoic principle not only teaches us about forgiveness, but also guides us toward a fuller, more authentic life, marked by acceptance, growth, and authentic happiness. Principle number 12. Find strength in vulnerability. In the intricate tapestry of human existence, vulnerability often presents itself as a fragile thread, feared by many as a sign of weakness. However, here lies one of life's greatest paradoxes: it is precisely in our vulnerability that we discover unparalleled strength. Like a tree that bends before the force of the wind, only to root itself deeper into the earth, so we too find unwavering power in our ability to be open, genuine, and receptive to the full experience of being human. Let's imagine for a moment life as a vast cavern whose depths hide treasures of inestimable value. Vulnerability is the torch we carry on our journey inward, illuminating our shadows and revealing the hidden gems of our character. This journey is not for the faint of heart, as it requires extraordinary courage to face our insecurities and fears. However, those who dare to delve into these depths emerge with a strength and wisdom that cannot be found on the surface of superficial existence. Now, consider the story of an explorer of these metaphorical caverns, Alex, whose life changed radically after facing a significant loss. In the depths of her pain, Alex discovered that by sharing her experience, by allowing herself to be vulnerable with others, she not only healed her own heart, but also offered others the strength to face their own battles. Her story is a living testament to how vulnerability, far from being a weakness, is a source of human connection, courage, and personal transformation. This is where we make a call to action. Can we, like Alex, find the courage to embrace our vulnerability? Can we see it not as a chink in our armor, but as the key that unlocks the doors to deeper relationships, authenticity, and personal growth? The invitation is to live with an open heart, to get rid of the armor that protects us but also isolates us. In doing so, we not only unleash our own inner strength, but we also create a space where others can feel safe to be equally open and authentic. In this exchange of vulnerabilities, we build bridges of empathy and understanding, strengthening the ties that unite us as human beings. Finding strength in vulnerability is recognizing that our greatest courage lies in our ability to be authentically ourselves, with all our imperfections and fears. This principle challenges us to see beyond the illusion of invulnerability, to the truth that it is in our openness where our true strength lies. By embracing this truth, we not only transform ourselves, but we also contribute to the creation of a more compassionate, courageous, and authentically connected world. Principle number 13. Prioritize progress over perfection. In the odyssey of life, we often navigate between the desire for perfection and the reality of our constant growth. Perfection, that enchanting siren that calls to us with promises of acceptance and success, can lead us into dangerous waters where the fear of failure paralyzes us. However, it is on the journey toward progress, with its shifting winds and unpredictable tides, that we truly discover our ability to navigate, trim the sails, and continue moving forward, even when the shores of perfection seem to fade on the horizon. The story of Clara, an artist who struggled for years with her perfectionism, offers us a revealing glimpse of this principle in action. Each canvas begun became a battle, not only with the medium, but with his inner critic, who insisted that nothing less than perfection was acceptable. This relentless pursuit of an unattainable ideal left her paralyzed, unable to complete her projects or share her art with the world. Clara's transformation began when she decided to participate in a daily art challenge, committing to completing and posting one piece of art each day, regardless of its perfection. This shift in focus, from perfection to progress, not only revitalized his creativity but also improved his skill and confidence in ways he had never imagined. Now, I invite you to reflect: in what areas of your life are you allowing the search for perfection to stop you? How would your approach change if you prioritized progress over perfection? Imagine for a moment freeing yourself from the chains of perfectionism, allowing yourself to explore, fail, learn and grow without the constant fear of not being enough. This principle is not an invitation to settle for less, but rather a call to recognize that growth is a continuous process, full of imperfections, which is precisely where its beauty lies. It is understanding that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory in itself. It is learning to celebrate effort and resilience as much as the results. Prioritizing progress over perfection is ultimately an act of liberation. It frees us from unrealizable expectations and allows us to enjoy the process of becoming who we are meant to be. This change in perspective not only improves our personal satisfaction and well-being, but also makes us role models for others, demonstrating that the value of our journey is not measured by the absence of errors, but by the richness of our experiences and what we learn from them. Thus, by embracing this principle, we not only advance our own path, but we also light the way for those who follow us, showing that true perfection lies in the courage to be imperfect, in the beauty of continuous progress, and in the strength which is found in the vulnerability of our growth. Principle number 14. See life as a teacher. In the great school of life, every experience, every encounter, and every challenge becomes a teacher whose lessons, though sometimes harsh, are imbued with wisdom for those willing to learn. Imagine, if you do, that you are walking through an ancient forest, where each tree represents a lesson learned, each path a test passed, and each sunlit glade a moment of clarity and understanding. This allegory invites us to contemplate our lives from a broader perspective, recognizing the value inherent in all our experiences, both good and bad. As you progress through this forest, you come across signs and markings on the path that suggest where to direct your steps. This foreshadowing in our journey symbolizes how, by reflecting on our past experiences and their lessons, we can better anticipate and navigate future challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as insurmountable barriers, we see them as opportunities to grow, learn, and strengthen our character. Now, I ask you to reflect: what lessons has life taught your path so far? How have these experiences shaped your understanding of the world and yourself? Perhaps you have found yourself at crossroads, faced with difficult decisions without a clear map to the future. However, by adopting the perspective that every experience is a teacher, you begin to value even the most difficult moments as precious gifts, loaded with lessons that enrich your journey. The story of Laura, who after facing a series of professional and personal failures began to see these setbacks not as endings, but as turning points, deeply illustrates this principle. Instead of giving up, Laura immersed herself in reflection and self-analysis, searching for the hidden lessons in each of these challenges. Her determination to learn and grow from her experiences transformed her life in ways she had never imagined, leading her to new paths of success and personal fulfillment. This principle teaches us to adopt an attitude of humility and openness, always ready to learn from the vast diversity of teachers that life presents us. In doing so, we not only enrich our understanding of the world, but we also cultivate a resilience and wisdom that prepares us to face whatever the future brings with grace and strength. Thus, by viewing life as a teacher, we commit to a process of continuous learning, where each day offers a new lesson, each person we meet a new perspective, and each challenge an opportunity to grow. This approach transforms the way we live, allowing us to fully embrace the richness and complexity of the human experience, and move forward with confidence into the unknown chapters that lie ahead. Principle number 15. Nurture authentic relationships. In the garden of life, authentic relationships are like precious flowers that require constant care, attention, and nourishment to flourish. They are not mere decorations that beautify our existence in a superficial way. They are, instead, the fertile soil from which we grow, the water that quenches our thirst for connection, and the sunlight that illuminates our deepest being. This metaphor invites us to consider our relationships not as static elements in our lives, but as living entities that evolve, grow, and transform with us. The process of nurturing authentic relationships unfolds in careful and deliberate steps. It begins with sowing the seed of sincerity, watering it with the vulnerability that allows others to see our true essence. As these seeds germinate, we must clear the weeds of misunderstanding and conflict through communication and empathy, thus providing space for trust to flourish. Consider the story of Miguel and Ana, whose relationship went from superficially pleasant to deeply meaningful. Initially, their interactions were filled with platitudes and pleasantries that, while comfortable, left a void of authentic connection. The transformation began when Miguel shared a personal struggle with Ana, an act of vulnerability that invited Ana to do the same. This exchange marked the beginning of a journey toward a more authentic relationship, in which both felt seen, understood, and valued for who they really were. Through this process, they discovered the beauty of a connection that is based on authenticity, rather than the masks we often wear to protect ourselves. This principle challenges the contemporary notion that relationships are exchanges of convenience or social transactions. It calls us to deepen our interactions, to seek and offer truth and meaning in our sharing with others. By nurturing authentic relationships, we not only enrich our lives with meaningful connections, but we also create an environment in which we can be authentically ourselves, free of judgment and full of acceptance. In conclusion, by treating our relationships as the most precious garden of our existence, we dedicate time, effort, and love to its care. This principle teaches us that by nurturing authentic relationships, we not only cultivate beauty and depth in our social lives, but we also foster personal growth that can only come from true human connection. Thus, each relationship becomes a source of learning, inspiration, and mutual support, reflecting the very essence of what it means to live a full and authentic life. Principle number 16. Embrace constructive solitude. In the fabric of our existence, loneliness is often perceived as a loose thread, something to be avoided or repaired. However, when considering loneliness from a constructive perspective, we discover that it is not a loose thread, but rather a golden thread that can enrich the tapestry of our lives. Loneliness is not being alone, but being empty, says a quote that invites us to reflect on the difference between loneliness due to lack of company and the loneliness we choose to reconnect with our inner being. How many times have we sought to fill every moment of silence with noise, fearful of what we might discover in our own company? The analogy of a secret garden can help us understand the value of constructive solitude. Imagine that your mind is this garden, where the bustle of everyday life does not allow you to hear the whisper of the wind through the trees or see the delicate unfolding of the petals at dawn. Constructive solitude is the act of consciously visiting this garden, allowing yourself to experience and appreciate its beauty in peace. This principle invites us to see loneliness not as a void that must be hastily filled, but as a sacred space for personal growth. In the stillness of our own presence, we can listen to our deepest thoughts, confront our insecurities, and most importantly, make peace with ourselves. The question then arises, how can we transform our perception of loneliness from being a state to be avoided, to one that we embrace for its potential for personal enrichment? Constructive solitude offers a refuge for reflection, creativity, and self-healing. It is in these moments of introspection where we can realign our values, reevaluate our decisions, and ultimately forge a clearer sense of purpose. By spending time alone with ourselves, we build inner strength that prepares us to return to the outside world with a renewed sense of clarity and confidence. To embrace constructive solitude is to recognize and value the power of our own inner space. It is an invitation to explore the secret garden of our mind, to nourish it and allow it to flourish. This principle challenges us to reconsider loneliness not as a lack, but as an opportunity to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. By doing so, we not only enrich our inner lives, but also enhance our ability to connect more authentically and meaningfully with others. Principle number 17. Respect your limits. In the vast orchestra of life, each of us is a unique instrument, with our own capabilities, rhythms, and melodies. However, in the rush to contribute to the larger symphony, we often ignore the score of our own needs, pushing ourselves beyond our natural limits. The paradox here is that, by trying to be omnipresent and all-powerful, we can end up out of tune, not only with ourselves but with the music we sought to beautify. This principle invites us to consider that, in respecting our limits, there is no restriction, but rather a deepening of our own harmony. Imagine, if you can, that you are walking along a trail on the edge of a vast canyon. On one side, the solid ground of your abilities and energies, to the other, the abyss of overextension and exhaustion. This metaphor urges us to walk with awareness, recognizing and respecting the edge that defines our being. It's not about limiting our travel, but about traveling in a way that allows us to enjoy the scenery, explore our capabilities, and at the same time stay safe and healthy. Now, I invite you to reflect. Where have you drawn your limits lately? Have you listened to the signals from your body and mind when they ask you to pause, or have you crossed those boundaries in the name of productivity, success, or even altruism? Guided reflection leads us to understand that respecting our limits is not an act of selfishness, but a deep act of self-knowledge and self-care. Respecting your limits is understanding that each of us has our own rhythm that must be honored so that we can contribute in a sustainable and meaningful way to the melody of life. This principle teaches us to balance our aspirations with our inner reality, to find strength in recognizing our vulnerabilities, and to cultivate a more authentic and resonant presence in the world. By embracing our limits, we do not become smaller, we become wiser, more compassionate, and ultimately more capable of living fully and purposefully. Principle number 18. Learn to say no wisely. In the vast ocean of existence, each of us sails in a ship called life, facing currents of opportunity and islands of decisions. On this journey, the wind blows countless invitations, requests, and demands toward us, filling our sails to the breaking point. This is where the hyperbole of our reality meets the need to use an internal compass, the wisdom to say no, to avoid shipwrecking in the sea of exhaustion and dispersion. Imagine for a moment that your time and energy are like water in a glass, limited and precious. The analogy here serves to remind us that every yes we say is like pouring some of that water onto the ground of external demands. If we continue to pour without discernment, we soon find ourselves with an empty glass, with nothing to offer the plants in our own garden, our needs, passions, and well-being. How, then, do we determine when to say no? And how can we do it wisely, balancing our personal responsibilities and desires? The sequence of questions and answers that we ask ourselves in these moments is crucial. Does this commitment nourish my purpose? Does it add value to my life or the lives of those I care about? If the answer is no, then we have before us the opportunity to practice saying no with grace and firmness. Saying no wisely is not an act of rejection, but rather an affirmation of our priorities and boundaries. It's recognizing that, by protecting our time and energy, we are not only taking care of ourselves, but also respecting those to whom we choose to say yes. This balance allows us to contribute our fullness, rather than our leftovers, to the tasks and relationships we value. Learning to say no wisely is an essential skill in the art of self-preservation and authenticity. It teaches us to navigate life with intention, selecting the currents that will take us toward our most cherished goals and avoiding those that lead us astray. By mastering this principle, we not only improve our own quality of life, but we also improve the quality of our presence in the lives of others. It is ultimately a gift of respect and love to ourselves and those with whom we share our journey. Principle number 19. Celebrate small victories. In the journey of life, where every step counts in building our destiny, small victories are the cornerstones on which we build our path to personal growth. Like the garden that blooms from tiny seeds, each small victory is a testament to the limitless potential that resides within us. The practice of celebrating these victories is like watering those seeds with attention and care, allowing them to sprout and grow into their full splendor. Often, in the pursuit of great achievements, we overlook the incalculable value of small triumphs. However, in Stoic philosophy, we are reminded that progress is a mosaic made up of countless small pieces. Every right decision, every moment of self-discipline, every act of kindness toward ourselves, is a celebration of our ability to live by our principles. It is in the accumulation of these small victories where we find true change and transformation. Stories of great figures, from Seneca to Marcus Aurelius, show us that behind their monumental achievements lie countless acts of daily perseverance, modest but courageous decisions that, step by step, guided them to greatness. These stories not only serve as a source of inspiration, but as a reminder that the road to success is paved with small victories, worth celebrating. I invite you, then, to pause and reflect on your own small victories. Have you recognized the value of those seemingly insignificant achievements that, in reality, are fundamental to your growth? Every day provides us with opportunities to advance, learn and improve. Celebrating each of these moments is not only an act of self-recognition, but also a powerful driver of motivation. So, the next time you are faced with a task, remember that every little effort counts. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small. These celebrations are the foundation on which a life of achievements and satisfaction is built. As a call to action, I encourage you today, and every day, to recognize and celebrate your small victories. Make this recognition a habit, and you will see how your perception of progress and success transforms. In the principle of celebrating small victories, we find a Stoic truth: greatness is born from the accumulation of small but significant acts. This principle teaches us to value each step of the journey, reminding us that, in the grand scheme of life, every small victory deserves its moment of celebration. Principle number 20. Recognize and challenge your internal prejudices. On the journey toward self-knowledge and self-improvement, we encounter obstacles that are often of our own creation. Internal biases, those deep-rooted beliefs that shape our perception of the world, act as invisible barriers that prevent us from seeing the fullness of life and ourselves. As the Stoics teach us, wisdom begins with the recognition of our ignorance. But how can we identify and challenge these biases that operate from the shadows of our minds? The first stage of this challenge is introspection. Through guided reflections and rhetorical questions, we can begin to unravel the web of beliefs we have woven throughout our lives. What are the preconceived ideas I have about myself and others? How do these beliefs affect my interactions and personal growth? This phase of self-examination reveals the complexity of our inner being and the need to challenge our convictions to achieve a deeper understanding. The contrast between what we think we know and what really is can be surprising. Often, we find that our internal biases not only distort our perception of others, but also limit our ability to be compassionate and understanding with ourselves. The realization that we have been viewing the world through a distorted prism is the first step toward freeing ourselves from those mental bondages. Critical analysis of our internal biases allows us to actively challenge them. This process is neither easy nor quick, but it is deeply transformative. By confronting our limiting beliefs, we open the door to new possibilities for thought and action. We free ourselves from the chains of unfounded judgment and embrace an attitude of curiosity and openness toward life and ourselves. This Stoic principle urges us not to passively accept our beliefs without questioning them. It encourages us to challenge internal prejudices, not only as an act of self-criticism, but as an exercise in liberation. In doing so, we not only expand our understanding of the world, but we also cultivate a more authentic and compassionate relationship with ourselves. Recognizing and challenging our internal biases is an essential step on the path to authenticity and wisdom. This principle reminds us that true freedom begins in the mind and that by freeing ourselves from the restrictions of our prejudices, we can live a fuller and enriching life. I invite you to take on this challenge, to look inside yourself and ask yourself, what prejudices am I ready to challenge today? Principle number 21. Value authenticity over approval. In the odyssey of life, we often find ourselves at the crossroads between being true to ourselves and seeking the approval of others. It is here that the principle of valuing authenticity over approval becomes our beacon, guiding us toward personal integrity and true freedom. Imagine for a moment, walking down a path surrounded by mirrors that reflect not your true self, but versions of yourself shaped by the expectations of others. What does it feel like to keep moving forward, knowing that each reflection is simply a shadow of who you really are? The narrative of our lives is enriched when we choose the path of authenticity. This choice, although it may seem challenging at first, frees us from the chains of conformity and allows us to live with a sense of genuine purpose and fulfillment. Stories of transformation abound, of people who, by letting go of the need for approval, discovered a deep peace and contentment that was previously unknown to them. These stories are not only testimonies to the power of authenticity, but also an invitation to reflect on our own lives. How many times have we sacrificed our desires and dreams on the altar of acceptance? How much of our true selves have we hidden to fit into a mold that was never ours? The call to action here is clear. It's time to dismantle those mirrors, to let go of the mask of approval, and to boldly embrace our authenticity. Stoic philosophy teaches us that freedom and happiness are found in living according to our nature, not in living tied to the perception of others. By valuing our authenticity over approval, we not only become more resilient to criticism, but we also cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships. Those who truly appreciate us will do so for who we are, not who we pretend to be. I invite you, then, to a guided reflection. Think about an aspect of your life where you feel the pressure to conform. Imagine now what it would be like to live that aspect of your life with total authenticity. What would you change? How would you feel? This principle, valuing authenticity over approval, is a call to live with courage and sincerity. It's a reminder that, at the end of the day, the most important approval is the one we give to ourselves. May this principle be the compass that guides you towards a life of authenticity, where every step you take is a faithful reflection of your truest essence. Principle number 22. Find serenity in self-discipline. In the fabric of our existence, self-discipline appears as the golden thread that weaves the strength of our character and the depth of our serenity. Imagine for a moment that life is a vast ocean, sometimes calm and at other times, tossed by raging storms. Self-discipline is the anchor that keeps us stable, undisturbed by the tumultuous waves of distraction, procrastination, and instant desire. This principle, although it may seem counterintuitive, reveals a profound truth: in voluntary restraint and commitment to our deepest values, we find unmatched freedom. Like the artist who undergoes hours of rigorous practice to unleash his truest expression, we too discover that, at the heart of self-discipline, lies true serenity. Through stories of personal experiences, we see how those who have incorporated self-discipline into their diet, exercise, work, and relationships not only achieve their goals more effectively, but also experience an inner peace and satisfaction that the external achievement alone cannot provide. It is in these moments of stillness, when the world sleeps and we choose to rise to pursue our dreams, that we find a deeper connection with ourselves and our life's purpose. The inspiring conclusion to this journey towards self-discipline is a call to action, not only to cultivate self-discipline in external areas, but also to apply it in the management of our thoughts and emotions. By doing so, we can navigate life with a serenity that is undisturbed by external circumstances, because we know that, at the core of our being, lies an unbreakable strength. Thus, I invite you to reflect on the areas of your life where a lack of self-discipline has kept you anchored in the harbor of complacency. Imagine now how those areas could be transformed with the power of self-discipline. Think of self-discipline not as a yoke of restriction, but as wings that allow you to fly towards horizons of tranquility and satisfaction that previously seemed unattainable. Finding serenity in self-discipline is, therefore, a principle that encourages us to see beyond the immediate effort, towards the peace and fulfillment that this effort promises. It is an invitation to embark on a journey where each disciplined step brings us closer to the serenity we long for. May this principle be the compass that guides you toward a life of peace, purpose, and deep satisfaction. Principle number 23. Redefine personal success. The concept of success is often like an island mirage, defined by social conventions and external recognition. However, Stoic wisdom invites us to navigate beyond these shallow waters, into depths where success takes on deep, personal meaning. What if, instead of chasing a beacon of success defined by others, you shined your own light, guided by your principles and passions? Through critical analysis, we can begin to unravel the layers of social expectations that have shaped our understanding of success. The stories of figures like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, who found greatness not in the accumulation of wealth or power, but in the richness of their character and the strength of their will, show us that true success lies in living according to with our nature and values. Imagine success as a garden you cultivate. Each flower and plant represents an aspect of your life that you have nurtured with intention, from meaningful relationships to personal achievements and spiritual growth. This garden doesn't compare to anyone else's, it is unique, reflecting the beauty of your authenticity and the work of your self-discipline. Building a personal definition of success is like building a lighthouse with your hands, stone by stone, with the light guided by your inner vision. This beacon not only illuminates your path, but also serves as a reminder of your ability to define and achieve what you value most in life. Therefore, I invite you to a guided reflection. What elements would make up your personal definition of success? How would your goals and actions change if you aligned them with this vision? This principle, redefine personal success, is a call to look within yourself, to recognize and honor your truest aspirations, freeing yourself from the chains of external definitions that limit your potential. May this beginning be the beginning of a journey toward deeply personal and truly satisfying success. By redefining success on your own terms, you not only enrich your life, but you also offer the world the best of you, an authentically fulfilled being radiant with genuine fulfillment. This is success at its highest expression, where happiness and purpose are intertwined in the dance of life. Principle number 24. Encourage an open mind. In the vast landscape of human knowledge and life experience, the open mind stands as a beacon of light, illuminating unexplored paths and revealing previously hidden horizons of understanding. But what does it really mean to have an open mind? Is it perhaps accepting all ideas without discernment, or is there something deeper in this openness? The paradox of open-mindedness lies in recognizing that the more we know, the more we realize how little we really understand. This recognition is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful invitation to explore, question and learn endlessly. How many times have we changed our mind about something we thought was immutable? Those are the occasions when our mind has expanded beyond the limits that we ourselves had imposed on it. Success stories abound, chronicling the journeys of those who, armed with an open mind, have transcended ideological, cultural and personal barriers to achieve extraordinary understandings and achievements. These stories not only inspire, but also show us the limitless potential that is unlocked when we allow ourselves to listen, learn, and grow from the diversity of thoughts and experiences around us. So how can we actively cultivate this open-mindedness? It begins with a sequence of questions and answers that you can ask yourself. Am I willing to consider points of view different from my own? Can I find value in opinions that contradict my current beliefs? How can I expand my understanding of the world in ways that enrich my perspective and my life? Encourage an open mind is a principle that invites us not only to accept uncertainty and change, but to embrace them as opportunities for personal growth and spiritual enrichment. By adopting an attitude of curiosity and openness, we prepare ourselves for a life of continuous discovery, where every person we meet and every experience we have can be a valuable teacher. May this principle inspire you to look at the world with new eyes, challenge your assumptions, and allow your mind to open to the infinite possibilities waiting to be discovered. By fostering an open mind, we not only transform our own lives, but we also contribute to a world that is more understanding, connected and enriched by the diversity of its thoughts and cultures. Principle number 25. Practice inner gentleness. On the journey toward self-knowledge and self-improvement, we often find ourselves being our harshest critics. We demand perfection from ourselves, punish ourselves for our mistakes, and forget to practice the kindness we so freely offer to others. However, the principle of practicing inner gentleness invites us to flip this script, to cultivate an inner garden of compassion and self-care. Imagine for a moment that your thoughts and feelings are like plants in this garden. Some are robust and bloom easily, while others may be more delicate, needing special attention and care. Inner gentleness is the sun and water that allows all of your inner plants to thrive, even those that have been neglected or damaged by harsh criticism and judgment. Personal experiences show us that when we begin to treat ourselves with the same compassion and understanding that we would offer a dear friend, our perception of ourselves begins to change. We stopped being a battlefield and became a safe haven. This change not only improves our self-esteem and emotional well-being, but also enables us to face challenges with greater resilience and balance. The act of practicing inner gentleness can begin with simple gestures, speaking kindly to yourself, acknowledging your efforts even when they don't result in success, and giving yourself permission to rest and recharge without feeling guilty. These acts of self-love are like seeds that, once planted, will blossom into a healthier, more loving relationship with yourself. So, I invite you to a guided reflection. How can you be kinder to yourself today? How would your daily experience change if you treated your thoughts and emotions with gentleness and understanding? This call to action is not just a thought exercise, but an invitation to integrate inner gentleness into every aspect of your life. Practice inner gentleness is a principle that encourages us to recognize our shared humanity, to remember that, like everyone, we are worthy of love and compassion. By adopting this principle, we not only heal and strengthen ourselves, but we also prepare to offer the world the best of ourselves, from a place of self-love and respect. May this principle guide you toward a life of greater peace, happiness, and authentic self-acceptance. If this video has given you something new, if it has made you think or feel differently, help us to continue growing by subscribing, leaving your like and activating the bell. This helps us to continue growing and be able to generate more quality content for well-being of everyone. As we close this journey through the 25 Stoic principles for being kinder to yourself, remember that every step you take toward applying these principles is itself an act of courage and self-love. The practice of inner gentleness, open-mindedness, redefining personal success, and all the principles explored are more than lessons. They are beacons of light on the path to a fuller and more authentic life. I encourage you to take these teachings with you, not only as concepts to reflect on, but as living actions to incorporate into your daily life. This journey is yours, unique and unrepeatable, full of possibilities and opportunities to grow, learn, and flourish. May each principle resonate with you, inspire you, and guide you towards the best version of yourself. Remember, true transformation begins with an act of kindness toward oneself. May you find in these principles the path to your serenity, your strength, and your joy. If you liked this video and want to continue deepening your knowledge about Stoicism and strengthening your abilities to handle life's challenges with wisdom and balance, I have a special recommendation for you. Click on the following video that we have selected especially for you. You'll find more tips, strategies, and reflections to help you apply Stoic principles in your daily life. See you there, dear Stoic.